Joining us right now on the phone is the man who exposed the Bigfoot hoax, Steve Kulls, private investigator and executive director of Squatchdetective.com.
The numbers of sightings, even if you take 99% of them and put them in the trash can, you turn around, you still have that 1% that can't be explained. Well, we need to explain it.
And then this thing walks across the road, makes a turn towards us.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black thing, is all I can call it.
The whole time, the whole thing was shadowing us, right behind us, right on the side of us.
I still see that damn thing to this day. It wasn't 20 feet from me.
You could see it standing from the moonlight in the tree line.
I was just scanning right to left, and it reminded me of like a gorilla.
Get somebody out here. Son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, exploring the Bigfoot mystery each week with your hosts, veteran researcher, author, and TV personality, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, and from the Bigfoot Research Project of Kentucky, Chris Bennett. Sit back and buckle up as we bring you guests from around North America discussing the Bigfoot phenomena, but not without a few laughs, too. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, July 9th, 2023. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, along with my co-host, Mr. Chris Bennett.
Steve's good to see you, brother. Hope everything's been going well for you in New York.
Everything has been going wonderful. Little steamy this week.
Oh boy!
And of course we have our guest Brendon on tonight.
Brendon.
He's already here, and yeah, it's been horribly humid, and Brendon is a New York brethren as well, so he knows.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, you're surrounded by Yankees tonight. You got one above you, one below you.
I feel kind of paralleled here. I'll have to bring me another good old boy in so we can even the odds.
Now, I just have one question for Brendon right off the shoot. Mets or Yankees?
Yankees.
All right, that's right.
I wasn't even going to let you finish that one.
That's good. All right, let's do our roll call for the night. All right, if I can scroll up because the chat's hopping again as usual.
Wow. Hi, guys.
Okay, first in tonight is Uncle Bones, little Uncle Bones, Daniel Weeks, Patrick Collins, another neighbor of mine, Low Rider.
Hello, Rider.
Paul Daglian is in the house. Jay Fritz.
Jay.
And Charlie L. Good to see you, Charlie.
Charlie. Well,
Finding the Trackway. Hello, we meet again. B. Lynn is here. Hello, B. Em and Chris also in the house.
Chris.
Sasquatch Wizard Adirondacks. Hello, another New Yorker in the house.
All right. New York is showing big tonight.
Grasshopper here. Prairie Fire. Good to see you again, Prairie Fire. Sandra Piper. Brent from the Tall Ones is here.
Hi, Brent.
Long time no see, Brent.
Yeah. Little Kilroy was here.
Donald Fuller. Hi, Donald.
Angel Nolan. Don Fuller is here.
Angel.
I'll see if we don't want to miss anybody here.
No. I'm scrolling through. There's Stephen Ward. Hi, Stephen. Welcome.
Stephen Ward. Jen. Mr. 205
Jen.
Federal in the house. The Hominin X Inquiry is here. Here to say hi again. Will hello again. Smedley Do-Right is in the house. That's a great name, Smedley Do-Right.
It is, yeah. Mr.
And,
250 Federal. Okay.
Hey, Mike is also Mike.
Hey, Lucci's here.
Yeah. Again, another New Yorker. Sasquatch Secrets is here. Lance Windsor is here. And Nikki is here. Sasquatch Secrets. Yep.
Nikki.
I keep forgetting that Nikki's renamed her show to Sasquatch Secrets. So no longer hairy man hoaxes and hoodwinks.
I love that name, dude. I did, and I understand why she changed it, but I loved the Triple H name. It was just so much fun to say.
Yep. Rod Dupree just popped in too as well.
All right. The Sasquatch Secrets is a good one too, though. I mean, there's
there's nothing wrong with it. I just had fun saying hairy man hoaxes.
Yeah.
It's hoaxes and hoodwinks. It took me the longest time to remember the proper order of that, and I finally did it. And she goes and changes the name.
Yeah.
And we got Dino. Oh, hang on a second. Dino Rokuda Gigantia is here. Dino Rokuda Gigantia is in the house. Bamboo Sulja is in the house. Sulja. Oh, Bamboo Solja, maybe? Yeah, Bamboo Solja in the house. DM Zabu in the house as well. So
welcome.
Wow. Sorry to mess that name up. I'm taking that probably from over the pond, but could be wrong.
I'd say halfway around the world, probably.
Yes.
Thailand, maybe.
Wade Wood is also in the house as well. Hello, Reverend.
Wade, welcome.
Okay,
if you missed anybody, it's not because we don't love you. I think we got everybody.
So let's see what's been going on this week in the Bigfoot world. Well, I've seen some questions about AI photos. Is this real? No, they're AI generated photos. Then there was Sean Bannon popping up again. No, Bannon was the filmmaker who made all those videos there. The beast of the giant sequoia, the creature from the giant sequoias, or something like that.
I expect a lot of AI stuff to start coming up about Bigfoot. A lot of these
as much as just that first spat of pictures. I think nobody bought it from the beginning, so it's not sticking. It's like everybody's now. That's you can tell that's a generated photo. You can tell that's a generated photo. I mean,
some of the stuff
they look real, but they're easily identifiable.
I had been watching on YouTube some of these AI generated videos that people had created, and I saw one. Now I don't want to bring politics into this, but it was Trump's fried chicken, and it was a commercial. If President Trump had
saw that.
I laughed. If Trump had opened up a fried chicken restaurant, what would the commercial be? And this was the commercial for that hypothetical restaurant, and it was hilarious.
Fried chicken is fantastic.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Fantastic.
So AI has a lot of potential to be entertaining, but it also maybe some bad potential for this big.
Somebody new in the house, Ho or Ooh TV.
you got some tongue twisters up there, man. It's like a sobriety checkpoint.
All right, say this one.
Hoorah.
All right, please step to the back of the vehicle and breathe into this. Keep breathing.
Welcome.
But here we are. So let's, as far as, it's kind of funny. We had mentioned a little bit a few months ago about our friend Thinker Thunker. And Thinker Thunker was one of the few people that kept arguing using his great video editing skill and video editing analysis that the Sean and Bannon creature was real. And now if you go to Sean Bannon's site, it even says this is not a real Sasquatch. But that very video has since disappeared off of Thinker Thunker's site.
Out of the back catalog, right? You can't get it anymore.
Yeah, you got to order the back issues, I suppose.
I actually subscribe to his channel. I pay the 99 cents because sometimes it's worth getting the sneak preview of the train wreck first, right? Yeah, I like to get it, and it's worth the 99 cents. And even though I can't legally take it because it won't let me. I just screen record it and use my recorder here to take it anyway and piece it together. And so I pay for that content, and I get it, and I want the back catalog. I don't want them taking that stuff down.
Well, we have a membership area here too now, and we'll do the cheap plug, and it starts at 99 cents, and that's a great way of supporting good, honest research. And we're still, I know we've been a little quiet on the membership front for the last week. Been a very busy week for the old man here. But we're going to, the cool thing is come September or October, when we start getting into the woods for our squatching season, we'll be doing a lot of filming then. I've been, I just purchased a GoPro clamp for my vehicle. So one of the GoPros is going to go up on the vehicle on the roof rack. And cool. So we'll have some more video as we go into these areas. We'll be actually videotaping as we're driving along, doing patrols and stuff like that. So it's gonna be really, really a cool thing. And like I said to Mike, who's out there listening, and to you, Brendon, I want you guys to come on up and partake. I'll make a date, and we'll set a little mission up. And
yeah, so, I mean, we where do you go? What county do you go in? Washington County, or where do you go?
I sure do.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I mean, it's not that far from me, and it's not that far from Mike. And it October it doesn't get any better. For going out in the woods, it doesn't get any better. I'm a little banged up. Mobile wise, but I get out there just the same. So if the truck can get there, my truck can get there.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing is where we set up is very accessible. And by all means, if you guys want a video too, go right ahead.
Oh, I don't go in the woods without my cameras, my low light cameras, because that's how I roll.
And who knows? Maybe we'll do a collab on that.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be fun.
Yep. And Mike says I'm down. Let's make it happen. So
Mike is chomping at the bit. Man. He can't wait to get up there.
I'll pick a date, and where I'm going to take you is to the area where I had my 2 sightings. And
that'd be a lot of fun. That would be, because we've gone up there. Like I said, I was telling you, we've gone up there. Mike and I spent 6-8 weeks up there last year, but we were doing on a different project, and we've always wanted to go up there. But it's hard to go to a place where you don't know the territory and you're just poking around. And going with you, that makes all the sense in the world.
Well, you were I believe you were over in Warren County.
Yeah,
we're going to go over to Washington County.
Yeah, cool.
And a lot of fun there. A lot of great area. Good area. Anyway, let's get back to business. So, Brendon, I knew Mike. Who else runs Carc? I mean,
well, the CARC is Sean Wagner, me, and Chuck Larson started it back in, I want to say 2009. No, we're not that old. I think it was maybe late 2018, 2019. And then but right now, so it was Sean Wagner, Charlie Larson, and me started it. Sean Wagner decided to peel off and do the more paranormal side, so that's why you see on the thumbnail there he does like kind of the paranormal file stuff. He enjoys Bigfoot research, but he's more along the lines of ghost hunting. That's really his jam, so we let him do that, and he does his investigations and he does the show, but he does come with us on the stuff. So but if you had to pick the Bigfoot side of the coin, it's really Mike, me, and Mike and me, to be honest with you. Gwen does a lot of stuff, but she's busy with Got Knockers and stuff like that. So if you have the executive board, it's Gwen Purcell, who's on the From Behind Tall Trees. She took over the podcast. Chuck Larson, me, and Mike Lucci, and Sean Wagner. So there's 5 of us.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice. And you guys definitely are making an impact out there. Your content's really great and fresh. We love it. And definitely keep it up.
We were lucky with we were doing From Behind Tall Trees for 2 years, and it was like, it's hard to do the long form interviews, man. As you know, it's hard to, you have to bank on your guest being true. It's the whole thing is just a lot of return on investment was my thing. I wanted to have production. I wanted to control what people were seeing, right? I didn't want it to go live. I wanted to fix things first, and I wanted to do a show, and I wanted to do something that was a half hour long. And we just happened to stumble across this Week in Bigfoot format, which seems to be working so far so good. I mean, we're only 18 shows into we got a long way to go. So but thank you. It's a lot of fun.
Yep. And I see good things for you guys in the future. You guys are you're all a little bit younger than me and Chris.
Well, I know depends. Charlie's up there. Charlie's I think your age, right? Close. Charlie's probably there going, how old are you? What year did you graduate?
Me?
Yeah.
I graduated high school. Well, I'll go right out and say I am 54.
I put you on the spot. Yeah, you're Charlie's age, right? You're Charlie's age, and you're older than me, but not that much. And I mean, you're a little bit, and so yeah, you're a little bit older, but
yeah.
But to tell you the truth, you don't act it. You act like a kid. You run around like a kid, and you're going a million miles an hour. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, I got banged up. I've had 4 spinal surgeries, and that really and that's how I got into the whole Bigfoot thing. To be honest with you, I was banged up. I got hurt, and then I had surgery. Then I was born with the screwed up spine. So I was in bed a lot, doing a lot of content reading, and I came across this stuff, and I'm like, this is fascinating. These people are fascinating. The people looking for Bigfoot, right? And I was watching Sussex County Bigfoot, Mike Famelot. He's not exactly, I don't know, whatever. You take or leave what you want with Mike Famelot. I've never met the guy, but he was entertaining to watch. And that's how I met Sean and Charlie, because they were working with Mike at the time, and it didn't work out. And then they brought Mike Lucci over, and we decided, hey, we can do our own thing. And so we have a lot of fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously, because you really can't. And that's what I like about you, is you have fun, but you don't take yourself too serious, because I think a lot of people take themselves too seriously in this camp, and that's where you gotta just take a deep breath and relax just a little bit. Yeah.
And everybody's showing their age.
I see Charlie. Charlie's there. Here he is. The Charlie L. He's right there.
Yep. DM Zabo and I graduated the same year. We both graduated in 87.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, not at all. Not at all. Actually, I'm kind of proud of my age, because I don't act it. I hope I don't look it.
I wouldn't have guessed it. I probably would have said 48, 49.
As long as I stay, my looking age stays a few years behind my actual age, I guess I'm doing good shape.
Yeah.
And B says Squatch-D TV, still a youngin'.
Yeah. I wish there were more fans or viewers like B, because she has always been one of the biggest proponents of This Week in Bigfoot. She's always there first, and she stays the whole time. So it's good to see that she's feeling better and she's watching the show tonight. So if the community was filled with people like B, then it would be a much better place.
Muhammad and X inquiry says, class of 82 here. Wow. Well, that's really cool. And you see, that's the cool thing about our audience. We don't mind going off on a little bit of a tangent off topic for a minute or 3.
Yeah.
Because
you'll find that's hard with me, because I wander off sometimes, and you have to just pull me right back. So.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Mike says he's class of 2008, youngin'.
Yeah, he's a kid, dude. He's just a little kid. God bless him, though, because we have him, and we have this guy Derek, who sometimes comes out with us, and he's a younger guy, and those guys will just go, dude, and just go out in the woods.
Those are the guys who go, okay, you guys are going to go out in that deep brush over there.
Exactly.
We're going to be back at base camp.
I'll be by the truck monitoring the situation.
I used to be that guy that used to charge into the woods. Not so much anymore. Of course, when you start taking on responsibility for everybody, you got to kind of be the incident commander, basically, and let people go here, go there, go here, and then I would respond if something was going on, and that's generally the tactic we use now. But we should have a good time, and I know the cool thing is where our base camp is. It's only about 50 feet off the roadside.
I'm not that banged up, for God's sakes. I'll be all right.
But I am.
Well, it used to be cool, you could go out like the first time of the year and you do, 6 to 12 miles in a hike, and then the next morning you're like really sore, but the next day you're okay. And as you get older, it's like that never happens. It never changes. Every time you go out, you're like really sore the next day.
Well, there are some people that are blessed without injuries. All three of us have had injuries over there.
And that was me. I mean, that to me is a problem. And that's the problem why I developed such a problem with my back, is I ignored the things for 15, 20 years. And it just, you can't do that when it comes to your spine. So I've had, and it is what it is, right? You move on. And that's the problem, is my brain wants to go a million miles an hour, right? And I want to do these things, but my body's like, yo, dude, you got to slow down a little bit.
What I have discovered is that, of course, I'm dealing with a spinal issue myself right now. It's my C8 or C7 T1 T2, I have discs that are bulged and will not go back
That's
in.
a dangerous part up there too, man.
Yeah. So I, my professional wrestling career is over with. But I find myself still being able to charge around a bit. But the problem is the next morning I get up and it takes me about an hour or two before I feel, back to being able to charge again.
That's not too bad. An hour or two isn't that bad. I'm usually 3 or 4 days, man.
Right. But that's only going to get it worse with age.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing. So, yes, I am seeing a spinal doctor. I got to go back again in a month or two. But, they may have to, put me open and put those discs back in place, which is, I mean, I cannot take my right hand and put it behind my back without having some extreme pain.
And we'll hit ones real quick. That's the toughest surgery to come back from is the C into the T, because the post surgery pain really stings, man. It's just, so whatever you do, good luck with that. Yeah. And don't do it before October. So
no. Well, you know what I do find though is, going to the gym, hitting the weights, that helps it.
Yeah. I've just lost 30 pounds. So that's not going to hurt my back. That's for sure.
Yeah. No.
Cut out booze and sugar. All just done.
Yeah.
For now. It's a little boring, but thank God I didn't have to give up caffeine because I live on coffee. So
that's what I got right here. Nice coffee.
I see that. I'm looking at that. I should have made a pot of coffee, so.
But anyhow,
the smell, but not the taste.
So let's talk about, have you had, and again, I like doing fresh interviews. I don't ever rehearse or ask any pre-questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that keeps content fresh. And to me, it makes a little better dynamic during a show, because you never know where the show is going to go.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask, have you had an experience yet?
No, I've probably one of the most boring host guests you'll ever have, because I haven't had a physical experience where I've actually seen anything, but I've heard some strange stuff, and I grew up in the woods and I've hunted it. But so there wasn't one night up in the Allegheny National Forest a couple of years ago where it was some strange stuff going on in there, and it got me, because I'm a skeptic, and if you watch any of my content, it's not hard to see that it takes a lot for me to believe in anything. Right. And this shifted the needle pretty good, and it got me. It kind of gave me a shot in the arm. It was if you want me to tell that story, I can tell it. Sorry.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. So I think it must have been. I think it was. And Michael, correct me as I'm going wrong, because Mike was there and Charlie was there, but Charlie probably doesn't remember. Well, I mean, it's the dates and stuff like that. But it must have been. I would say it'd be 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years this October. It'll be 3 years. It was the first week of October. And we were up in the Allegheny National Forest, and we had gone up there to do an investigation and film. And I film. If I can't film, I'm not really going to go, because if you can't film it, then it doesn't happen, right? It's just a story. So we had scouted out some stuff. We had found a fire road in the middle of the Allegheny National Forest. And if you've ever been up there, it's kind of a remote area once you get away from once you get into Pennsylvania, away from the parks that are in New York State. And we had gotten into a spot, and it must have been, we had Mike, I had dropped Mike off, and the other guy we were talking about that goes out with Mike, we had dropped them off on a fire road. We were on a fire road in the middle of nowhere. So we're 12 miles from the nearest county road. And living where you live, Steve, I know you know what a 2-lane county road is, right? There's not, just because it's a 2-lane county road doesn't mean that anybody lives on the thing. Right. So we were 12 miles in, and we dropped them off. This must have been, we think we dropped them off probably around 10:30, 11 by the time we'd gotten there. And we had turned around, me and Sean Wagner, who does the Paranormal Files, had circled back around and gone about 3 or 4 miles away from them in a different direction. And it was just starting to rain. And it was one of those nights where you're not going to get a lot of activity because there's nothing really going on. And it's hard to get, you got your recorders out, but everything, you hear the rain on the trees, on the leaves, because it's early October. So nothing's really fallen off the trees yet. And it must have been around 3:15, and we're like, man, it's just not. And we're doing these call blasting, so the one time I put my camera down, because I've got a fairly expensive DSLR camera. The one time I put the camera down, he does a call blast, and about 8-10 seconds after, we got this. I don't know what it was. It was loud, and it was big, and it was right. It must have been no more than 75 yards away from us up on the hill. And so you hear had I known, I would have brought some of the audio stuff, because it's kind of funny because you hear me go, what the is that, right? We have the audio tape. So I whip over my camera to get it open, and this thing went on for, I don't know, 5 or 10, 15 minutes, right? And it's just kind of bellowing and yelling, and it's kind of, I mean, if you listen to it, it sounds like I don't know, it sounds like a elephant and a wolf, a large, I don't know. I sent it to Dave Ellis, and we didn't know. So we sat on it, right? And it was like, so it's going. And then 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, you hear the coyotes, which are across the gully on the other side, kind of start bellowing. And then this thing kind of, you can see where there's it sounds like there's two of them, and then the coyotes come in. And I tell you, man, I've heard a lot of things, and I've grown up in the woods, and there's things that you hear, and there's things that you understand. And I understand that the world is full of nature that makes a lot of strange stuff. But I'm telling you, man, this was something that really it got me going. It was interesting, put it that way. And I was pretty excited because we captured it. Thank God we had Mike's digital camera or digital recorder that was on top of the truck that actually happened to catch it, and we were able to pull it out loud enough and extract it to give it to Dave Ellis, who pulled it out even further. And it was pretty cool. But that's about it for a couple of years. And then we were down in Catawissa, Pennsylvania, down in that area, central Pennsylvania. And we were doing the same thing. I think it was I'm not sure if it was State Game Lands 58 or where it was, but it was in the middle of Pennsylvania. We had gone to a place where Gwen lives, and we had driven into this place, and we had 4 or 5 vehicles, and we were stopping. First vehicle would stop here, then the rest would go another mile, and then another half mile. So the cars were about a half mile apart, and Mike and I were the first forward one. And as soon as we parked, it was like, must have been 5 or 10, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, and we hear this huge howl, and Mike's all mad because he's thinking that they're call blasting already and making all this noise when nobody had turned anything on, and it was just this yell. And that one was actually louder and clearer than the one in the Allegheny National Forest. So I have heard things that I can't explain, whether they were Bigfoot or not. I can tell you they were extremely odd and peculiar, and they did make me wonder. And like I said, we sat on them. We didn't play them to anybody, and I sent them to David Ellis, who is a fairly knowledgeable guy when it comes to this stuff. And I think, as you are too, Steve, because I think Mike sent you the Catawissa one.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And so those are my 2 experiences. But people go for 20 or 30 years without hearing anything, and they get into it. So I feel fairly lucky that in the first 2.5 to 3 years I've been doing this, I've had those 2 things happen.
Well, I got to tell you, when we did the Monster Quest back in 2008 with the History Channel, they didn't have their damn recorders going on when we were doing stuff. And we got a call back on one of the, one of our guys, nicknamed Hollywood, let a bellow out, and we got a bellow back. And, we turned around to you guys. We were excited. And they're like, did you guys get that? And they're like, oh, we weren't recording.
See, that was the funny thing, and that was what I found so ironic about the first night at the Allegheny National Forest with Sean is every single time he took this damn thing out to make the noise, I would record it. And I'm like, you know what? It's just been raining. It's 3:15. I'm just not going to take my camera out again.
Hey,
and
Mike,
one time I didn't do it, it comes back. Yeah.
I think your video locked up.
Me?
Yeah, your video's locked.
Let me.
Yeah, I think it is. Could be the StreamYard issue.
Yeah.
Mike, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine.
We can hear you fine. Yeah. But your video locked up. You might want to just stop your camera for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, he disconnected completely.
Yeah.
Usually
out and bump right back in.
Yep.
But,
he just went devices not connected. He went completely fakakta. But as people know, the Allegheny the Allegheny Forest is where the Jacobs photos were taken in Pennsylvania.
Good area.
Yep. So I don't know. There he is. Is he back? There he is. He's back. Let me get him back in the show. There you are.
Is that me?
Oh, that's working.
Yeah, you're on a different mic now, by the way.
Let me see what's going on here. All sorts of crap going on tonight.
Hey, what's a live show without a technical difficulty?
Oh yeah, it's the Men in Black. I mean, they're trying to silence us.
Camera going on.
I gotta get my tinfoil put over my head.
You seen it? You almost seem like you're on a different camera too.
I am.
Okay.
There
we are. There we go.
No, I don't know what it is. I was just on with Nikki for 2 hours, and maybe my system's going. I'm tired.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry
it's
about that.
Probably your internet.
No, I got it. It's all plugged in. It's all hardwired and stuff like that. I'm not one of those guys that goes Wi-Fi. And the router's right here, so I don't know. Well, hopefully it won't go again, right? Fingers crossed.
Yeah, let me check on something. Chris, you want to take over for a second? Because apparently Don gifted some people some memberships, and they're not showing up, or they're not. So I'm going to go check on that real quick for him.
Well, Brendon, you'd mentioned earlier, and before we got cut off there, you had been doing some call blasting. Now, out of curiosity, could you share, like, what are some of the sounds you guys use for call blasting, or are they just like?
I have. So it's funny because when we were doing this, we were just using some. I think back then Sean would just download some stuff that he had, and if I cut off or something like that, just let me know. Just say, hey, you dropped off, because I don't really tend to pay. I don't really watch the screens when we're talking. I'm just kind of listening to you guys because I don't really have the screen up all that much. But when we were first doing it, I think Sean had downloaded just some generic Bigfoot sounds, and it was kind of like the thing that we were using was kind of like a half elephant trumpeted thing, and it really didn't sound like anything that would be natural, but it was the one that was the loudest, right? And it was the one that would project the most. Now what we use we use Julie Wrench, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with Julie, but Julie.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Julie's a good friend. So she has given me permission to use a bunch of her calls that she had from the Uwharrie Forest. So I have all those because I've done a couple shows with her. I have those, and I have some Adam Davies stuff that he's given me. So we have a collection of them that I'd be happy to share with anybody and send them. I have them all in MP3 player and files.
And I have to get them both on the show as well. Julie's been at this for a long, long time.
She is such a sweetheart of a guest, and her and David were on the show together. I had them on together, and it was perfect because David, if you're going to talk Bigfoot sounds, you need to have David Ellis on the show.
Yep.
And I just want to answer a question. I think there was somebody that had asked what David had said, and he said that it was obvious. The sounds that he had. And I was looking for the letter. I have it here somewhere. I couldn't find it, but it was sounds that he had heard from other people. He had heard the same sounds in the Olympic Peninsula, and he had heard them from someplace down by North Carolina. So they are synonymous with stuff that he would recommend would be Bigfoot. And now you, Steve, were the one that went through the second one with Mike, and I'm sure you can reiterate what you heard, what your findings were on that.
From what I recall, because I do a lot of them, to tell you the truth. Was that was one of the loud ones. I'm like, wow, that was definitely not a canine, and that's what you would expect in that type of environment. You wouldn't, as far as I know, the alligators don't have too much of a cat population, maybe some bobcats, but definitely the volume, the bellowing definitely was non-cannid. So what does that leave? Bears don't growl. So yeah, really, really cool stuff.
And like I said, it's one of those things, like you said, it's if you don't, the second you don't have your camera going or your recorder going is when it's going to happen. And it's so frustrating because what you do is if Mike hadn't given me that digital recorder to use that night, we would have been today still be kicking ourselves in the ass. Because what do you come back with? You come back with just a story, right? And that story just isn't, to me, it just isn't good enough. I mean, it doesn't. In this day and age, you should be documenting everything you do in the woods, and whether you want to or not, that's just the way it is.
Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it.
And so to answer your question, now we've got a bunch of quality stuff that I have given to some people that have asked me for it, and I'd be happy to, anybody who wants it.
So the hominin X inquiry is actually Joe. Apparently he changed his name again.
He did. It's hard to keep up with Joe, man. He's changing his channel, and he just did a video that says, what's up with it, Joe? And I haven't watched it yet, but I covered the last time he changed the channel. So it is no more the Bigwood Atheist Inquiry. It's just hominin X Inquiry. So.
And again, thank you, Daniel. We will be your paid informant for at least this show.
Thanks, Daniel.
So you got money coming in yours, man. That's nice. It must be nice.
Well, it takes a few months before we even see that money, but
I know. I'm teasing.
But it definitely helps pay for the website, the channel, and the streaming service and stuff like that. So we appreciate it all very much.
It is, and it's hard because, as you know, and everybody knows in this economy, man, $5 is $5, dude. It's a gallon. It's a gallon of milk, and it's not.
It's a gallon of gas too.
As well. You can't be throwing the money away, man. It's just it's tough. So anybody that can give you $5, it's
very appreciated.
So
very appreciated, and that's why we do what we do, and that's why we always commit to being the most honest show out there. We don't try not to candy coat things, and we talk about the show. We talk about the hot button issues, and we're not we can't be afraid of it, because if we're going to beat the beast, we're going to have to be honest with ourselves.
And that's the thing is, a lot of people just want to live under the rock and ignore that these problems don't exist within the community. And I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm a newcomer, right? I mean, I've only been doing this for a couple of years, and I'm already disgusted with it. And I've only been around for a couple of years. So because there's people like you, and I mean,
and that's how I come across with good people like you that, hey, listen, this is baloney. What's going on here? And
and that's why you and Brent get you guys get a large chunk of our programming on the news show, because you guys are the ones that nobody else is stepping up. I mean, Phil Poland just put out a video for it's the first debunking video he's put out in God knows how long, just because he just doesn't do as much anymore. But there's nobody else that's doing it, and that has the balls to do it the way you and Brent is learning, I think, taking his cadences from you. And I think that's great. I mean, because you don't back down, and that's it needs to be done. And we were talking about this. It's like, I wish there was some sort of judiciary committee that if you got caught hoaxing or pulling some sort of bullshit, that all your content would get like a watermark for like a year, right? So everything would be spit out with like a scarlet A for like a year, man.
But as you know,
that's really dating myself on that one.
That's like one of my hashtags is no cryptozoology. I'm sure there are shows out there, and I'm not even sure which ones, that it seems like a lot of their guests who have all these experiences week after week after week after week, some of them seem a bit scripted. Like they may get a real one, and then some of them seem scripted, like other ones. Like, wow, this person.
Do you remember? Like, and this is how old we all are. Remember the Penthouse forums, dude? Name and address withheld, right? You remember I know there were articles in Penthouse, or weren't just pictures, Steve.
Are you telling me you? No, wait. Are you telling me you bought Penthouse just for the articles?
No, do you remember? But I'm just. I'm telling you, remember when they used to write in, right? They used to write in, Dear Penthouse Forum. I was living next to my neighbor Brooke, and she normally doesn't shower outside, but here you do. So it's kind of like the same thing, right? They're getting all these stories from God knows where. And the only one I really like is W.J. Sheehan. I really think his stuff, wherever he gets his stuff from, because first of all, he sounds exactly like Dee Schneider. And second of all, you're right. You're 100% right on that stuff. I think 99% of it's scripted.
And, that's something we won't do. That's why it's a rarity, but we will have, and usually it's people I have interviewed. And that reminds me, one of our members actually is a witness, and I want to get her on, and I'm sure she'll do it too. But that's why we've had, witnesses on, like Suzanne Ferenchek, also a member of the channel. And hello, Suzanne, if you're out there, I know you'll be catching this on replay if you're not. Yeah. And Jay Fritz, another member, the reason why I think that we connect with them is because we know legitimate witnesses, and we very tenderly handle them. But at the same time, we still ask tough questions, but we ask them in a logical and respectful manner. And that's the other flip of the coin, is that there are legitimate people that go into some of these groups that have a legitimate encounter and they just get beat up.
Well, so, I do think that's unfortunate and unfair for the people that have an encounter and get drugged through the mud. But it, right? And I think I'm just paraphrasing, right? It's easier if you tell the truth, it's easy to remember the truth. But if you're making up a lie, it's harder to remember the facts, right? It's harder to keep the facts straight, something like that. So, but I understand why people are hesitant. I know we've had a couple of people, we attempted to get a couple of witnesses on in the past, on our older show, and it was really, and these people were really, they really wanted to come on, but they didn't feel comfortable coming on because they didn't want to have to deal with the somebody. All it would take was one bad comment or one bad thing, and they would be just like, you know what, this isn't worth it. And I get it.
Yeah. And you see, the thing is the beautiful thing is we develop, our audience here is the greatest. And really, I've never had a guest on that has been shot at, necessarily with a question of, oh, you're just making this up or anything, a bad comment. And
well, I like to think that you vet your guests, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like you're just putting on everybody that comes out with a story.
And that's the other issue I have with some channels is they don't vet. Some of the times they don't vet their guests. And if I don't vet a guest, I'll be right up front. I did not vet this person. Let's, but we're gonna have them on and talk about their experiences anyway.
Yeah, and have you ever had one on where it's like, what did I do here?
I don't know, Chris.
Chris, come on, did he ever step in it inadvertently?
Well, I don't know. You can't really. There's some people that kind of questionable, but
here's the thing: is a lot of times.
That was back on the Blog Talk days, I think.
Yeah.
Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah. Here in the last couple of years.
A lot of times the people I have on the show, I've already heard their stories or their stories have been told before and they're very credible. Like when we had Jay on, people were saying, I didn't hear Jay's story, but people were saying, wow, it was quite the impressive story Jay had. And hello to you, Jay, sir.
Oh, you're just saying that because Jay's here?
No.
They just gave $10.
You got to realize too, Brendon, that the format of the show has changed a little bit over the years. Because back in the Blog Talk days, we would get witnesses on and we would let them discuss their sighting, and we'd speak with them. And sometimes during the show, I felt really good about what they had to say and stuff. And me and Steve always, the after show was probably the most interesting part of our show, but nobody sees it.
Yeah,
Steve
I know,
and I would discuss it and say, well, I just really, I think this guy is really legit. Or, we might say, hey, I'm not too sure about this guy. That seems kind of odd,
Well, probably the one show we had the most talking about afterwards was the Justin Smeha show.
Yeah.
And that was right off. That was like months after, like within 3 or 4 months of the actual incident itself.
Now, where do you stand on that story?
Well, there's Chris's opinion. I have my
was that
doubts.
perfectly timed, Chris, or was that just a perfect example? I don't know. Where do you stand on that? I don't know where you stand on that.
I figured out. My mouth. I figured out he was lying when he answered one question for me. That's all I needed. I needed one question answered. And from then on, I knew everything he was doing was bull.
The one thing that I have to fall back on that I was left very unsure of it at the end of that show. However, when he appeared on the Bigfoot bounty and his story had changed about choking the Bigfoot out. That's when I put the brakes on.
I remember that, but I remember reading that was the baby one he choked, right? Wasn't it the baby one he choked and stared at it? Yeah, I think I remember reading that somewhere. I don't know. It's a fantastic story, though. I mean, you got to admit, man, he
kept getting better and better. It improved over the years.
But Justin nowadays is much of a non-issue. It just goes down as a story in the a tall tale of the Bigfoot annals, and of course that was also a tie-in with a group known as at the time of Team Taser, and
that's what it was, Team Taser. And that's I know Richter Riolo is a friend of mine. I don't know if that's going to be good news or bad news in the show, but
well, that's bad news, and I would tell you to tread lightly.
I'm just saying, dude. Richter's a friend of mine. He went to film. He's not a friend of mine personally, but he's a friend of mine because he goes to film school, and we talk to film stuff. And I've heard these stories. Team Taser rings a bell, and what's funny is I hear one thing from you guys to stay away from him, and he tells me the same thing to stay away from other people. And I'm just, if you know me, I sit right in the middle, man. I just kind of just let things go. I'm like the right in the middle, man. I just don't let things.
I'll be right up front. Richter had a problem with me backing off on the whole alleged admission story by Russell Accord. And, you know, the way I looked at it is after hearing both sides of it, I realized how there could have been some biased programming done to me by Richter unintentionally. Nothing was intentional. Never saying that it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt one way about it. And I did not. And I respectfully backed off that claim. And he got mad.
So he's a character, man. He is high strung, man. He is. He'll call me at like 5 a.m, dude. Like just doing nothing. Like wait, or not 5. He'll text me, and then he'll call me, and it's like it's funny, dude. He's Richter. He's his own guy. He's doing his own thing. He's not doing, you know, whatever. But Team Taser rung a bell when you said that, and that's that whole thing. So
and and they were very, very controversial. Of course, they had to change their name because the people who created Taser got involved, and there was a copyright claim or something involved.
Whole
with that.
landscape. How long have you been doing this, Steve?
Since 1998.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's
and Chris, how long about you?
Oh gosh. Well, I've been interested in the Bigfoot phenomenon since 1980.
Jeez,
I did get some interest into it prior to that, but actually getting out there and looking for them.
You ever see one? What's your?
Yeah, but this ain't about me.
I like to turn it around and become the interviewer.
Chris and I both have had encounters.
Yeah. Well, Steve, when we go in October, you have to tell me about yours.
Yep,
I think we talked about it. I think we met first at the Whitehall thing a couple of years ago.
Yep. Correct.
Real briefly, because you just popped in to say, hey, we were setting up our booth. But now that we know each other, we'll have to shoot the shit and smoke cigarettes, because you guys are killing me, man, because I just want a cigarette. And
you're not allowed to smoke in the house.
I don't smoke in my house. So
okay.
I could, I just don't. That's why I was late getting here, because I had to go I had Nikki, had to do that. I had to go feed the pets and then have a cigarette. So, okay. So that's a long time. You guys have been doing a long time. I hope I have your enthusiasm when I get to that point. I really do, because like I said, I've only been doing it for a couple of years. I'm having a good time.
So we're gonna do something here we haven't done before, but today I have a special co-host with me. But I'm gonna blip the camera for one quick second. Hang on.
You got a dog? I hope it's a dog. I hope it's not a cat. No, yeah.
And he is crashed out on the chair next to me.
Is it a cat or a dog? What is it?
That is a dog.
Okay, good.
So sleeping on his back.
I see that. He's just chilling. He's a big fan of the show. Look at him. Very comfortable right now. Yeah. Everybody should own a dog. You should, at one time in your life, own a dog.
Well, I used to not really care for dogs, especially dogs in the house. But I was.
Well, you're from the South, right? You're from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Dogs are not dogs. It's different down there.
Normally,
I've noticed that.
You want a dog that lives outside and has,
you want a hunting
has
dog.
his own house.
Has a job, yeah.
But,
all the dogs in the South have jobs. Coon dogs, hunting dogs, white-tailed dealers.
She likes the little Yorkies that are good for nothing but affection.
My sister-in-law has a Yorkie that's got to be 25 years old, man. That thing is, I don't know how that thing's still alive.
Oh, man. But, you got to, after a while, they'll get into your heart and they'll force you to love them. So you just can't help but love them.
Yeah, I lost I had to put him down a couple of years ago. And that's if you wonder what Archibald Franklin is, right? Everybody wonders, what the hell is Archibald Franklin? Archie was my French bulldog. So Archibald Franklin was my French bulldog. So that's what my Facebook name is. It's not Brendon Brown. So people can, because it was a hard thing to like, why is your name? That's such a weird name for a guy. Archibald Franklin, that's your name? That's my dog.
So anyway, that dog, this is what he looked like when I brought him home.
Oh yeah.
What kind of dog is it?
It's a Shih Tzu.
Oh, he looks bigger than that on the couch, sprawled out like that.
Oh yeah,
that's a puppy, but he looks bigger than a Shih Tzu.
Yeah. Yep. He was a big guy for a Shih Tzu. So he was the alpha of his litter, and a lot of people didn't know that at the time. They actually thought he was going to be the runt because all his siblings were black, and he was the only one that was brown and black and had some white in him. And of course, I saw him. I said, I want him. And so I met him at 2 weeks old, took him home at 6 weeks old. And he's been with me now since 2015. So
And he has a buddy.
He's still got a ways to go.
Waiting.
Yes.
Right. He's got a buddy waiting for him in Kentucky, just looking to relocate. So let me know.
Yeah, so they're saying Richter had disdain for Gimlin's manager. I guess that's what we call Russell, right? He's Gimlin's his handler.
Yes,
he holds the keys to the kingdom. He's probably he's gonna prop Bob up until Bob's final days. I don't know about Russell Cord, man. I don't know. I don't know him, right? But I have a hard time with anybody that calls doing what he does on television Bigfoot research.
Well, yeah, and I think there's a big distinct difference. And in my conversations with Russell in the past, prior to all this going down, he can't speak on that. There's NDAs with the show.
I get that. I totally understand that.
And of course we've exposed that too in the show that I know Michael Merchant had called me out on it once. Why didn't you ever talk? I go, whoa. We did cover that because it was like a September, a few years ago, however long we've been doing this on StreamYard now, that we talked about the whole season 1 being at the Antoine Ranch.
Oh, good Lord. What a trained calamity of errors that was, dude. Jesus,
yeah, that kind of killed the whole series there for the people who are looking for something serious.
But it changed the whole paradigm to season 2. I mean, that's why I think they left Kentucky when they did, right? Is because I think, and don't get me wrong, but I think that they were staying at someplace similar to Anton in Kentucky, and that's why they left Kentucky to go to Washington State, is to try to shake it up and say, hey, we're not really doing this Dude Ranch 5-star accommodations thing. I think I could be wrong, but that's what my insider track information told me.
Well, after season 1, I just never went back for any of season 2.
Of course, we saw that it was like 2 or 3 episodes in, and we had posted that here they are allegedly walking in, and there's tire marks in the grass next to them. Well, like, wait, something's not quite right here. And unfortunately, you don't get a lot of good, reality Bigfoot shows on TV anymore. I mean, there was Finding Bigfoot, which a lot of people will scoff at and yell at, but I saw a couple of their productions in process, and they do try their best, and they are in remote spots, and they do, so they're doing a legitimate effort. I think some of the questions they had in season 1 were some of the editing techniques that they used, and that got the cast quite angry at the time, and they threatened to walk on them unless they fixed that, which I believe
it's rightfully so. But you give up that control when you sign to do the show. I mean, that's just the way it is. It becomes a package. You have to sell 12, 14 episodes to this network, and you're responsible for cranking out 14, 15 episodes. So the executive producer, I mean, if you look, I did, and this is apples and oranges, but I played the credit roll on our show of Expedition Bigfoot. And if you look at it, story editor, content editor,
there you go.
So and story writer and concept writer, and there's people. This happens when you do. This is just a fact of network television. Monster Quest, back in when you were on it, was probably the best show after In Search Of that has ever been done on the subject of Bigfoot. It just is, and even the Monster Quest that came out after that a couple of years ago is awful. It just would never stuck to the original script, that the original formula that the show that you were on back in the day was the real deal. That was the way you do a show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now here's the next another good show I like out there is The Proof Is Out There with Tony Harris.
Yes, and that's a very good show.
And I'm going to drop a hint here very publicly. Yes, I will be on that show. I'm going to drop that hint very publicly today, dropping the bomb. I will be on that show. So it's a good show. I think it's as close to the original Monster Quest as being done. I mean, I think they do it in today's day and age where there's a lot of video edit, a lot of footage that's reiterated and checked out. But I think it's a good show. Tony is a great guy. He is always been a guy that's been out to find the real stories. When he was back with Al Jazeera and CNN and all that stuff, and it was lucky that the History Channel picked him up. And it's a great show. I promoted it on our show, and I have no problem promoting shows like that on our show because it's a good show. And I thought Ben Hansen's show was good too. Fact or Faked. I thought that was a great show when it was on as well.
It wasn't on that long though, right? It was very, I think maybe 2 seasons. Maybe?
I think 3. I think it went on for 3. But he has gone on to do other documentaries, and he's more not so much the cryptid stuff, but he's more to the UFO stuff now.
Yeah, and he's gonna be busy right now. He's done. I saw him doing a lot of paranormal stuff too, right? A lot of ghost stuff and stuff, which is nothing wrong. I mean, apples and oranges, right? It is what it is.
And, exactly. Now, here's the other thing too: is I'll ask you this: do you believe Bigfoot to be flesh and blood?
Nah, here we go. Now I knew this was going to come out. I just didn't know when it was going to come out. So I almost knee-jerked reaction and gave you an answer real quick, but I figured being the showman that I am, I will walk you through my process. When I first started, right, I was like, all right, flesh and blood, flesh and blood, flesh and blood, flesh and blood. But the more that I've gone down this road, and the more conversations I've had with people, and the more evidence I've looked at, and the more lack of evidence I've looked at, and the more that it should be this and it should be that, is I am firmly on the fence that it is just left of right in the middle of, I used to think it was flesh and blood, and now I think it's something not off of a spaceship, so don't get me there, don't put me there, and it's not jumping through portals, but there's some sort of something going on there that we don't know about that doesn't, it's just not flesh and blood, because it would have been captured, killed, or run over by now. That's just a fact. And if you say there has been, then more of them would have been shot, ran over, or captured by now, or captured on camera conclusively. There's just not enough physical evidence. This creature, regardless of how smart people may think it is, it's just not that smart, because we have human hunters in the depths of the jungles. These guys are professional. They kill tigers for a living, right? In India and in Bangalore, they kill illegal prey. These guys kill these tigers illegally for the trade, for the trafficking trade. Even these guys are getting caught on trail cameras, right? And these guys are human beings that can know, they can see a trail camera. They spend their entire life in the jungle. So even these guys are getting captured on trail cameras. So if these guys get captured on camera, regardless of how smart you might think Bigfoot is, it's just not as smart as to outwit all the 450,000 trail cameras that are introduced into the already existing catalog of trail cameras that are in the wild right now. So there's where I stand. Make sense?
I understand your reasoning behind it.
I catch a lot of shit from Lucci though. So
okay, so let me just counter that I believe there's at least a few that have been caught on trail camera.
Okay.
One in Vermont in 2010 specifically.
Now you're talking about the one with the mange?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not mange. Actually, it's not mange. It's actually dark coloring, but it reflects white.
Okay.
Because of the IR, it kind of inverts the color pattern sometimes.
But we're to the one by the apple thing, right?
Yep. The apple tree.
All right.
That's coming off the apple tree where all the apples are on the ground.
Right.
But the other thing too is that a primate is pretty smart. And do I think one has been killed? Yeah, I think one has been shot, but I don't think one was dragged in or dragged back. I think one maybe in the 1800s was shot by somebody and they just, let's get out of here, because they're afraid. Good possibility that occurred. No history to back that particular thing up, but I think that they are pretty smart, and that's how they don't avoid trail cameras necessarily, but they avoid hunters. They understand, they can see and interpret what a rifle does. In fact, there was a series of events back in Honobbe, Oklahoma, back in the mid 90s, where this family was being plagued by several of them. Their deer lockers were being raided. They lived on a remote piece of property. They had realized that they were shooting at them, but they weren't running away, and they couldn't understand why. And the reason, and they've also shot deer and go out to get the deer, and they're following the blood trail, and the deer is gone. It looks like it had been dragged off or carried off. The reason why was, in that particular group of Sasquatch would hear the guns fire, and it was the dinner bell to them. Let's grab their deer and go. So that's why they weren't being scared off of them. So they are, like primates, like a chimpanzee is very intuitive. And a chimpanzee has the closest DNA to us that we know of. I mean, could a Sasquatch even have closer DNA? True. But I think what gives the paranormalism factor to a Sasquatch is they have the ability, and this is my belief. My belief is that they can use infrasound. And that can play a lot of tricks with the eyes and the ears and the minds and of a person. And as we know, the show Paranormal Activity piped in infrasound in theaters when they were showing that film during certain scenes, and it was causing these reactions. Saying that was the creepiest film I ever saw. And then some of us watched on TV. Well, it wasn't so creepy. It was good, but it wasn't so creepy because we didn't have the sound system to pipe in the infrasound to cause that reaction. So I think that's a big part of the paranormalism in a Bigfoot. Now, the interesting thing is I found that in mammal families, the different families, you have the different levels, genus, class, class, genus.
Family, kingdom, filing, class, genus, or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Science.
Yeah.
Science.
But I found out that the biggest mammals of a certain class of animals, like the biggest felines, can use infrasound. The biggest dogs can use infrasound. The biggest whales, the blue whale, uses infrasound. So it looks very apparent that the biggest of the mammals can use infrasound. And obviously, if a Sasquatch existed, it would have that use to use infrasound. So,
right, but what are we talking about here in a distance range? I mean, how far, when you're talking about these lions and all these stuff, and I'm gonna debate you because that's what we're here for, right? Is I think when we're talking about lions and whales and stuff like that, this infrasound is not that far, right? We're talking maybe, I could be wrong, but I think we're talking under 35 yards.
Well, very true.
For it to actually physically make somebody sick and uneasy. Right. I think that's where we're at here.
But you got to understand, and a lot of these times, the people that are having these, well, it was right there in front of me, and then it just disappeared. Or, I saw it, 50 feet away. Now, 50 feet away is less than 35 yards.
Right.
Right. So I think they're fairly close encounters, but they're not encounters like over hundreds of yards, because why would a Sasquatch feel threatened 100 yards away? Only if you get close, that's when it would feel threatened and perhaps emit this infrasound.
But if it's such a, and again, I'm going to come, this is like a tennis match here, is because I'm going to ask you questions, if it's such a elusively smart creature, how does it allow someone to get that close? I can't. You're not telling me that a hiker walking through the woods is going to stumble upon one because they snuck up on one or they startled one because it was busy.
Well, very
I'm
simple.
just curious.
Okay, very simple. If you hear somebody coming, you hear gunfire, right? Say you're in a neighborhood, your own terrain, right? Now you're in your own terrain, and you start hearing gunfire. What do? You walk away from it, right? A Sasquatch may hear gunfire and think something else of it and actually get closer. Because if we hear a boom, say we hear kaboom, what's the first thing we do? We look out the window.
That's funny. There's a guy across the valley. His name's Kaboom, and he blows shit up all the time.
but we look out the window. Other animals will go the other way, including tigers and wolves. They'll scamper out. Oh, I'm getting away from that. But we, as primates, we have this natural curiosity. And sometimes we get preoccupied. Sometimes we have hearing deficits. Sometimes we have sight deficits. And sometimes, like, have you ever stumbled into somebody like, oh, it happens. And if you look at Sasquatch encounters, most of them are by accident, or we see a fleeting glimpse of one scooting across a road, which would be normal because we see every other creature, including humans, scamper across the road all the time.
But don't you think one would be hit, right? One would be hit across Canadian freeway with a truck somewhere. I don't know. I agree that there are pictures and there's random stuff, but there's just not enough of it. Right, there's just not enough for as many people, as many cameras.
There is, there have been accounts of several accounts of Sasquatch being hit. One I remember very distinctly because it was covered by the show that predated Monster Quest, which was Mysterious Encounters, and that happened in Louisiana. And
was that with Robert Stack?
No, that was.
Remember that one?
Nah, that was with Autumn Williams. Was the Mysterious, and was on the Outdoor Life channel at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whereas Unsolved Mysteries was
that's Robert Stack.
Yeah,
yes.
That's Robert Stack.
That was such a great movie.
who
Great
a lot
show,
of people.
sorry.
Here's another piece of useless trivia. He was actually the brother of James Arness.
No, that wasn't. You're wrong. It was that was the guy from Mission Impossible.
No. Unsolved Mysteries was Robert Stack.
Right, but the guy from Mission Impossible was the guy that was brothers with James Arness.
No.
I'll bet you money on that one.
I'll bet you money on that one too, Pete.
I bet
Peter's is loving this one, dude.
Here we go.
Let's you looking it up?
Yeah,
the guy that was on Mission Impossible. Unless he had two brothers.
Well, while y'all are looking that up, I'm gonna read off a little.
Peter Graves was his brother. That's from Mission Impossible. Go ahead. Sorry.
There was you had Brendon. You had thought that maybe they couldn't stay hid. They would have been found by now, but
there would be more evidence, right?
Well,
There'd be more evidence.
Yeah, but the last wild Indian in the United States was named Ishi, and I'm going to read it off from Wiki here. He said he was the last known member of the Native American Yahi people from present-day state of California, United States. The rest of the Yahi, as well as many members of their present tribe, the Yana, were killed in the California genocide in the 19th century. Ishi, who was widely described as the last wild Indian in the United States, lived most of his life isolated from modern North American culture. In 1911, aged 50, he emerged at a barn and corral 2 miles from downtown Oroville, California. So he had lived all his life just outside of Oroville, California, in the woods there, and nobody ever knew it.
Yeah, but that was the 1890s, right? And there was
1911.
Yeah, so there's not exactly. It's like people live to be 30.
It's like he didn't have to dodge. He didn't have to dodge game cams or anything,
and cell phones and the I-5 corridor. So no, I mean, if you're I get it because I've heard these arguments before, and it's hard because you guys know what you're talking about. But that's just the way I feel.
And you know what you're talking about when it comes to Peter Graves. Because
the only reason I know that is I just saw the commercial for it a couple of days ago.
Wow, and you know what? And you know what? For years, I was told that Robert Stack and James Arness were brothers, and it was actually Peter Graves. And there was that rumor going around that Robert Stack was Peter Graves. But
one for this team.
Congratulations!
I know, right? Just kidding.
And usually I'm pretty sharp.
But I mean, you guys make a lot of good sense, and I'm sure your entire fan base here, you guys are probably going, "This guy's got this paranormal." I'm not a paranormal guy. I don't believe in paranormal stuff. I'm just saying that I don't know. I guess I could say I don't really know what it is, but I don't think it's just like a deer running through the woods is flesh and blood, right? You shoot a deer will die. You hit a deer with a car, deer will die. It might be a natural being, right? But I don't think it's a flesh and blood when we think flesh and blood, right? And otherwise it would have been.
Then again, I've watched, I watch a lot of crime stuff, and I've seen shows where a person has gotten shot in the face, and they will walk blocks and then drop, and then, surpass to their injuries. So
now, do you hunt, Steve?
I do not.
Do you hunt, Chris?
I used to. Yeah, I haven't gone in a long time.
You shoot a deer, unless you get a dead-on shot, it drops.
Yeah,
now,
I married a Buddhist, and they don't believe in killing things.
Are you allowed to kill flies in your house?
Well, you're kind of supposed to shoo them out, but you know what?
I've heard that. I've heard that from Buddhists. Like you got to just kind of shoo them out.
No, she uses fly spray. Yeah.
Evo.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. Like it's like I do believe that, there's a lot of things. And again, I'm probably going to make more enemies than I am going to make friends on this show. But it's just the way it is. And I don't think with you, but I think
here's the thing: our audience respects people's opinions, even if they are wrong.
I am 100% pro kill. I am 100% pro kill, right? I am 110% pro kill because you have to admit that no matter what happens in this community, nothing will ever be resolved until a body is brought into the office. That's just the way it is. And who was it that said that you'd have to shoot the thing? Not only would you have to shoot the thing, but you'd have to drag it its stinking corpse from university to university and shove it under the professor's nose to prove to science that it's there. I forget who, one of the old Four Horsemen, or one of those guys.
Right.
Made it. I don't know who it was. Yeah, but I mean, and I catch a lot of slack for that because people, oh my God, it's such a special thing. Well, first of all, if it's the last one, right? If I shoot the last one, then it's probably not going to live anyway. The race is going to die out. But I mean, that's just the way. In other words, it's never going to happen unless there's a body, because you have to agree with me. I'm not asking you to agree on the kill factor, but you're going to have to agree with me that science demands a body.
You are correct. Yes. I agree 100%.
I don't necessarily believe that. I think there are ways that you can prove to science they exist without killing one. But if that's what, I understand the argument. And you will not get.
And I catch a lot of grief for it.
Well, you get it.
I really don't care.
Before Bigfoot is accepted as a real species,
but here's the thing:
when
you guys go out in the woods, what really did it was there were certain groups back in as late as the 90s that used to go out wanting to kill a Bigfoot, and they would come out fully armed to the teeth.
Well, that's a different story. That's just stupidity. Yeah,
right. So you may have that philosophy, but you don't actually go out and try to cap one.
Of course not.
That's why people do not have that. Why people should not have that guttural reaction to your belief.
Sometimes it's a knee-jerk community, man. It is. And
I am not pro kill, but if I come across a dead body, hallelujah.
That would be the way.
I'm going to get it out of there. So.
And you hear the stories all the time about hunters and again, these are stories that you hear. Somebody heard it from somebody heard it. And I've never heard one firsthand, but it's like, you hear the stories where the person has scoped it and they've either taken a shot and it hasn't done anything, or they've scoped it and they put glass on it and they see it and then they can't shoot it because it's too whatever it is, it's too human-like. And I get that. I don't think I would pull the trigger because it's probably somebody eating a ghillie suit. It's ghillie suit.
Now, here is the other cool thing is that primates generally, and there are cultural exceptions, primates generally will not attack primates of another species of primate. Different species of macaques have crossed into their territories without a war going on. That's why, if you ever notice, we have no problem going into war with other humans. But we see a dead gorilla on TV or a gorilla that's been poached, we feel horrible. It's our guttural instinct. How would you like to eat a monkey? We're all kind of like, ugh, right? But there are cultural differences.
Well, we look where we live. We live in the United States, and that's if you lived in Thailand or if you grew up in Laos, you would have a different philosophy on eating monkey or eating anything else, right? I mean,
But the primate. The penchant for primates is not to get violent with primates of other species. That is the norm. Like I said, there are cultural exceptions to that, including chimpanzees. Certain groups of chimps won't go out and hunt other monkeys, but there are groups of chimps that do. And chimpanzees have their own cultures. There are chimpanzees which in groups will do different things than other chimpanzees. And I think that looking at a Sasquatch as a primate, because it would have to be, because it's a creature that roams the forest, articulate hands and feet, large head, large brain, small snout, forward-facing eyes.
Well, we have no idea how big the brain is, right? We assume that the brain is big, right?
Well, all primates have large brains comparatively to other animals.
Oh, okay, right. Comparatively speaking,
right. From species to species,
right. So you definitely, and and B said chimps are evil.
Some have been, yes.
How would you feel if you're kept in a cage all your life? Would you like to go walking into a federal a prison, and like one of the fine New York State DOT prison or DOC prisons? You don't expect those people to be all, happy and, calm if you let them out, because a lot of them, they're, recidivism. So again, if you keep a chimp in a cage all its life, it does not necessarily know how to act around humans or other chimps for that matter that are outside in the wild. There is that's why chimps don't make great pets, because they're not humans.
They're incredibly strong. People don't realize how strong chimpanzees are. So if a chimpanzee gets angry with you, they can do some damage to a body, because I think their body mass, like muscle mass, is 3 or 4 times that of a man.
I mean, literally,
incredibly strong for their size.
How would you feel if something bigger than you grabbed you, put you in a room, threw a diaper on you, and you had to be its pet?
Whatever happened to Michael Jackson's, what was his, Bubbles? Mr. Bubbles?
Like that. Bubbles.
Oh, God. Well, I have a soft spot for chimps. I love chimps. Yeah. And
there you go. You're right. And they belong in the wild. They don't belong
exactly
at all doing shows for people. They don't belong, because you know what? How would you feel? You got to understand they have their own personalities. It depends on how they're treated. And if they get pissed off about something and they're being treated bad and they're having a bad day, guess what's going to happen? Right.
So that would hurt. That would hurt. I see that somebody bit somebody at B Lynn's birthday party. That's what
they can have.
It was started before we had a birthday party. Bigfoot bit my daughter.
Right. A lot of people.
Well, I mean, but you have to admit. So let's talk. If we're going to talk about stuff with this, is I think the worst thing that can happen to the Bigfoot community is Bigfoot gets recognized as a species. I mean, what do you think would happen after the creature was? If tomorrow you turned on the news, every channel, and it was like Bigfoot was found in North Carolina. We have a Bigfoot, verified Bigfoot, verified Bigfoot, verified Bigfoot. I think all these Facebook groups would just cease to suddenly exist. I really do.
Oh no,
I do. Well, it would be like having all these Facebook groups for pandas.
Hey, it's off the crop circles.
It's off the crop. It would honestly. It would be to me, in my opinion, the shine would be off the apple. It really would be.
See, my own personal opinion is that for me, at least for me, and I know for Chris, if one's discovered tomorrow, that's when the fun begins.
You think so?
Because how much are we going to learn now?
That's right.
What do you think now that we have one? What's its diet?
Who's going to be proved right? What camp is proven right?
Well, I've always said that if I could bring evidence, proof of existence, then solve the Sasquatch for the United States, the next thing to do would be to head off to Nepal or somewhere and start looking for a Yeti.
He's going to Thailand. Jump on with Biscardi. You can sign up and go with him. He's starting that expedition Thailand in a couple of months.
Okay, Raptor has a question. That's Steve question. If Bigfoot is a primate, how do they have feet like ours? So wouldn't that make them more human than primate, or no? Well, humans are primates.
We are. Yeah.
We are primates. So humans are part of that hierarchy of great apes. Humans are great apes.
Great apes.
Great apes. Great ape.
Beagly.
But we are all primates. Humans are primates, and they have feet not like us. So let's dispel that myth.
Yeah,
is that they do not have an arch. They do have a mid-tarsal break. They have 5 toes like us, but their toes look a little more dynamical than ours do. So, and without getting, word salady on the whole thing, that's the bottom line on it, is that their feet look similar, but they're not identical.
But, we got to add in there that mid-tarsal break is postulated through a very well-known source, that
a couple
Jeff Meldrum.
And Dr. Grover Krantz as well.
Yeah. They like, that's what they specialize in, is foot, what do they call that, morphology through the ages,
evolution.
Yeah, that's it. The evolution of the bone structure and stuff, so those guys, they know what they're talking about.
Yep. I mean, yes, I think at one point in time, ancient relatives of ours did have a mid-tarsal break as well. But what the great apes have is they also have, like we have opposing thumbs, they also have an opposing toe as well on their feet, whereas a Sasquatch does not. And that's what makes it look similar to ours, because they have lost that. But then again, here's the interesting thing I find about this is that we don't have that undulating or that opposing toe, because we don't need to grab on trees and we don't need to walk on fours. But a Sasquatch doesn't need to either, and it doesn't have one of those opposing toes. Yeah. So to me, that fits very well in line that Bigfoot, is a primate in flesh and blood, because it falls in line with what we know about primate evolution.
Mm-hmm. That was always the weird thing about chimpanzees was their feet. It's kind of creepy looking. It's like they had 4 hands,
And
it drives you crazy, Chris, to keep you up at night.
It's just kind of weird, It's like they're when you're interacting with them, it's like they're a little hairy person, and then they reach up and grab a banana with their feet or something.
Drives you crazy.
Yeah.
The humanizing of apes is kind of creepy, right? You see them in their suspenders with their hat, and then they reach up with their foot and grab the banana. It's like, get off the table with your feet.
Well, the other thing too is people who subscribe to they're more human than us, or they're human like us and stuff like that. They're adding a lot of, and this is something we all have to avoid, is what they call anthropocentrism. Which is giving human-like abilities to things that are not human.
And I feel that happens an awful lot within the Bigfoot community.
Absolutely.
I do. I think it does. And I think, there's a book in me, and I just, if I had the discipline to write a book, it's like, why, if you think about it, not everybody that's in the Bigfoot community has had a sighting or had an encounter or had this or had that. Bigfoot fulfills some sort of need into people. It replaces, you've gone to conferences and festivals and stuff like that. It always seems to, if you talk to people, right, and this is not everybody, but somebody died in the family, they had a car wreck, they survived cancer. Some of them saw Bigfoot. Bigfoot replaces something that happened in their life. And what happens when that happens is they start giving it human features like you're talking about. They start humanizing it, right? They start treating it like it's a living, breathing person. And that's the worst thing you could do, because it's not, that's the farthest thing from what it is, right? And so it's really strange that happens. And it happens a lot, right? You talk to people, Steve, you talk to thousands of people more than I have, right? With the investigations you've done, and you've seen that happen all too much.
So let me. There's a question in here. DM Zabo posted a good question. Why haven't chimps evolved then? But they have. It is believed that chimps, the evolution of chimpanzees, is thought to have begun like that of many other primates, with the divergence of platyrenes, also known as New World monkeys, and catarrhines, a group consisting of Old World monkeys and apes, 25 to 40 million years ago. And again, I think our evolution, somebody says we were not evolved, we were created, and I understand the religious implications for some.
Let's not start with that. Let's not do that. We don't have 4 hours to get into that whole thing.
But I will put this into a sentence. The earth was created in 6 days, right? 6 days to who? Who was measuring time at that time?
Oh, let's not go there.
But
we're talking. Okay, so we're talking about the evolution of monkeys and chimpanzees. But actually, there have been recent discoveries where they've discovered where they've started to use tools to fish.
Right? Or eat ants and stuff like that. Yeah. So they evolve.
No, to fish, but to literally fish. They're using
now. The reason why our evolution, we had a jump because we started to cook our food. We developed fire. We started to cook our food. We evolved faster. We evolved faster because cooking food breaks down the proteins, which makes them more easily absorbed in the brain, which grew our brains.
That's exactly right. That we developed fire, and that's the big thing is we learned to tame fire, and that changed the whole ball game.
Right.
You are exactly right. We learned to cook our food, and that changed everything. That is, you are 110% right on that one.
Yep. And it's because of that is the reason why we have evolved so quickly.
Lots of protein, lots of
protein. So it's normal. I mean, you look at some of the dinosaurs. If you go back to that kind of history, they existed for many, many years. I'm not going to put a specific date on it because I don't know off the top of my head, but they existed a lot longer and they didn't evolve. They just ended up dying off.
Yeah, but we don't intermix the discussion of Bigfoot in with religion. Although I always say there is evidence of hairy people in the Bible. So,
well, if you look at what's that reference, and I'm going to butcher this one like I mostly do, is and this has anything to do with that. We're shifting gears here, and I agree with you on all that stuff. But is if the world, right, if the world was an 800-page book, right, humanity and mankind would be like the last half of the last chapter of the last page, right? It's like we take up like that much of the storyline of what's going on this planet, as far as with since the world is, since in the billions of years that the world's been here, right, since it was created, or whatever you want to talk about, is man, like the mankind, us human beings are only like this big in the page. So there has been, the evolution has taken forever for us to get here, and again, I don't think we are the only place in the known. I don't think we're the only people doing this. Some other places probably got that going on too. But I digress.
No. That brings me up to a point that I think is very valid. You take the most hardcore extreme skeptics who think that anyone who has seen a Bigfoot is a liar or a fool or delusional. And you ask that same hardcore skeptic, or I'm going to say scofftic, do you think there's life elsewhere in the universe? And they're going to say, well, sure. Well, wait a minute now. You're telling me that you don't think a Bigfoot is possible it could exist on planet Earth? But
I honestly don't know why there are those hardcore skeptics. Right? And we all know who we're talking about within this community, and we will just leave it at that. But I find it funny that these people exist in the community and spend their time in the community. Right. Yeah. So if you're really a hardcore skeptic and you do not believe in Bigfoot, like before I got into doing this stuff, the last thing I did was hang out in the Bigfoot chat rooms and look at Bigfoot stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm curious on their motivations, why those people spend so much time around people they don't like. There's other hobbies to do other than kicking people you don't deal with, right? You don't like, and that's, I find that completely hilarious, and that's it's just funny that some of them
there's another factor at play too.
It is. It's just weird. Yeah. It's funny, dude. It really is. I mean, it is. It's, you have to admit, Steve and Chris, this is a very complicated world. That the dynamics in this community are so, and I mean, I'm coming as a newbie here, right? I've only been in for a couple of years, and I come as a content creator, right? I first and foremost, if I can't tell the story about it, then it doesn't exist to me, and that's hard for a lot of people to understand. But I'm not the guy that's going to go out every weekend and look for Bigfoot. I find it fascinating. I find the story fascinating. I love the community. I love meeting people like you, and I'm like everybody else. I'm challenged by the mystery, right? I feel like it's a challenge. I want to help figure something out. And if I can be part of the community that does that, I think that's a great thing. And that's why I get along with everybody, man. I get along with the skeptics. I get along with the believers. I really don't have a hard opinion either way. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Sure. And, you have skeptics that are really skeptics, like Benjamin Radford. And, he's perfectly willing to accept that these things could exist. He would just love to see the evidence.
He's very excited. I talk to Ben all the time. Yeah, and he would want nothing. He wants nothing more than Bigfoot to be proven real because he'd love to see the evidence. Yeah. And I think that's healthy, and I think that's a healthy skepticism.
It is.
Well, it's funny, Ben, and actually Joe Nickel, who was one of the predecessor, high profile skeptics.
Mm-hmm.
I met him in Chautauqua Lake back in, I think, 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. No, I'm sorry, 2012. 2012. What the hell am I talking about?
And the world ended 2012.
Yeah. And, I remember him saying, he goes, I'm surprised you recognize me. You're going to say hello to me. I said, well, I got nothing against skeptics. You're just, and to him, he said it to me, which made a lot of sense to me. And Ben feels the same way, is that there's a Bigfoot sighting or this mystery is just as exciting to them as it is to us.
You would think it would be, right? You would think that any normal human being, right, should feel that way.
Yeah. And, but he says, we just look at it from a different prism, and that's fine. And, it's getting back to my original way back when is that, people coming up and telling their stories online and getting hammered. I saw one person who had a sighting, and the best picture they could get of it. And it was blurry, and people, blob squatch. Wait, it's not a blob squatch. They saw it with their own eyes. They saw it. It's not a random picture. Somebody takes a random picture. Oh, look, I found this in my pictures. It's a Bigfoot. You couldn't see them. They were cloaked. All of those are blob squatches. But when somebody says, hey, listen, I had a sighting and I did the best I could. Here's the picture I took.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. It's not a definitive picture. But to them, that's their proof that they saw something there.
Right. I think if it was me, and this is just me, if that had happened to me and I had somehow snapped a crappy photo, I would just have deleted the photo for me. Because if it can't, and that's just me speaking, and I get it. I get why people do that, because they feel like they need something because nobody's going to believe them. Right. But I think telling the story to somebody that's qualified like you, Steve, or maybe you, Chris, too. I don't know your background, but telling the story, you're going to be able to tell whether with or without the picture, Steve, if it actually happened.
Right. But, to me, even a blob squatch picture from a real event, from an event that is witnessed, to me, can yield some sort of relevance. Yeah. And that's why I wouldn't delete anything. You don't delete.
I wouldn't delete it. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't be putting it anywhere. And like I said, when we captured the audio footage from the Allegheny, it was like 18 months before we went public with it, because I had to get it verified. And even then, I didn't want to do anything with it so we made a whole video about it first.
Right. But there are ways of validating even a blob squatch, and that's by going back out there and taking some.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, that makes all the sense in the world to do a follow-up investigation. Yeah,
but a witness who saw this like a year ago is coming on Facebook for the first time, getting coverage. Now it's a year down the road. They didn't have the knowledge or the wherewithal to say, "Hey, let me go back and take a picture of the same area."
I think very few people even think of doing that. To be honest with you, yeah, I don't think that crosses the. Unless you have the skills of an investigator or the hindsight to do that, most people aren't going to do it, and that's just. I mean, most people don't live their life under the Bigfoot lens. Let's be honest.
And most people, you got to also understand, seeing a Bigfoot, not believing it, and then seeing it is very traumatic in of itself. So
I would imagine so. Yeah.
And so you're not thinking like, oh, I need to do A, B, C, D, E. Whereas something comes to me. So I saw one and was the first, and after my initial wow, what did I do? Get my crew out to right there to start. I mean, I'm one of the few people, they actually have a video of me minutes after the event, like minutes. And you
that's pretty impressive.
You can even hear the base camp saying, hey, we got a lot of movement at the southwest end of the camp right now. So they're hearing it walking through the woods. So that was one.
Let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Why is it that all Bigfoot people have to feel the need to go out at night and look for Bigfoot? Why? What is the allure to that? I'm trying to figure that one out. And I might sound like an idiot, but if Bigfoot is flesh and blood, it should still be there in the daytime.
Well, they're in the daytime. Here's the issue.
It seems like I don't get that one, dude.
Okay.
I don't get it.
Because of the eye shine.
Right, but
okay, so eye shine is indicative of having a tapetum lucidum, which only about 12 primates species do have a tapetum lucidum. So there are some nocturnal primates. Unfortunately, most of them are New World monkeys.
Yeah, but it's going to be easier for me to see the Bigfoot at the daytime.
But they're not out and about. Okay, so if you think about it, a large creature such as a Bigfoot, especially during the summer months and even the fall, it's warmer in the fall. So a large creature is going to generate a lot of heat, as we do. Yeah, that's why I hate mowing the lawn in the middle of the day. So having a tapetum lucidum is indicative that they're a nocturnal animal.
Right, but don't they have to? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
So the chances of having, and John Green did a study as well about that as well, is that although there are more daytime sightings than a nighttime sightings of the Sasquatch, the issue was it had something to do with the percentages of sightings. That there are less people percentage wise out and about at night, but the percentage to people versus Sasquatch to the people out versus the people out during the daytime, their sightings, the percentage of sightings at night actually meaning that statistically that you have a better chance of seeing them at night.
I don't believe that one bit.
Yeah, no,
I'm not buying that bill of goods at all. Here's the thing. Here's why.
Hold on. Time out.
Sorry, Chris isn't either.
Okay, but John Green was probably the biggest archivist of sightings.
I know who John Green is, yeah,
right.
And I know that study. But I'm just saying that I think it's going to be easier for me as a human being that sees during the day to see a 700-pound monkey in the woods that has to eat all the time, because if it's eating, it's caloric. What's the caloric intake of a Bigfoot have to be, Steve? I'm sure you ran the numbers on this, right? For it to maintain 500 to 600 pounds, and it's eating nuts and berries, it's got to be eaten all the time.
They're also carnivorous too.
Right.
They're omnivorous, so they do get their proteins in as well, and they're also scavengers because we know there's.
But they have to eat a lot, right? They have to eat.
They would have to consume about 3,500 calories a day.
Okay.
Now, when you think about that, is that a lot? Well, a black bear before hibernation has to take in 21,500 calories a day. So if a black bear can be out there and survive, why aren't I seeing a black bear all the time when they are in greater number allegedly than a Sasquatch? But yet I have been into the Adirondacks and I have yet to actually physically see a bear. And the reason why is very simple. Sasquatch, again, it goes back to that curiosity thing. Sasquatch are curious. They smell things, they hear things. It's that primate curiosity. Let me check out what's going on. Whereas a bear, stuff going on there, I'm going to avoid that area altogether.
Yeah, I think they're way more active. They're way more active at night.
They are.
I get that, but I just don't understand it. Every time you talk to somebody, they're going out at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's like,
that's
these things are here.
That's way too late.
I think the best time to go would be like hunters go, right? Hunters go an hour before sunup to get in the woods, and they go until an hour after sundown. And that's where I think Mike Lucci and I agree to disagree all the time. Is he wants to go out at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'd rather go, right before sunup till an hour after for the sun, because that's when the animals are coming home to eat or coming back, or the opposite. Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with both of you, actually.
What are you going, like midnight?
No, the best time to go.
What time are we going to go when we come up there? That's the question.
The best time to go out is about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening.
I agree. That's fine with me because that's right before sundown.
It's right before sundown.
That's what I agree.
Okay, if they're a nocturnal animal, they're going to be up and about. And by 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, guess what? That's when the activity seems to die down.
Yeah. See, that's exactly. We are in agreement on that. That I would prefer when I go is to do that exact same thing. You go 6 or 7, and you go to an hour or 2 after sundown, and then the opposite. You do. You get in the woods an hour or 2 before sunup and go back. I'd like hunting deer. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and then when the sun goes down, and deer also have tapetums, lucidums. So, it's like I said, it's a nocturnal creature. So you'll find, more deer in the morning than you will in the mid-afternoon, because that's when nocturnal, creatures at night will, like I was shocked, bobcats. I had to learn about bobcats because one day I turn around and there's one in my backyard. I just bought this house back in August, and boom,
really? You don't see a whole lot of bobcats.
I got to. You got to look at my trail on the channel. If you go to the channel, look at my trail cam videos. You'll see.
Look at Steve's backyard. You'll see bobcats. He's got them back there.
But what I think, no, you're good, Raptor. If you have another question, just do me a favor. If you have a question, please put them in caps. It kind of makes them stand out to me as the chat's scrolling, because I'm watching.
Did he ask a question? I didn't even see Raptor ask a question. So Bigfoot developed. Oh, that's your job. I don't miss this part of the job at all, dude.
Well,
but
I'm all for going out during the day rather than at night. Of course, I think they're more active at night because of their eyes. But I think you're better off to go out during the day.
Because I really think during the day they go to some secluded areas.
They're inactive,
and then at night. And think about that. The reason why they have it is because they move around at night. We don't move around at night. We're diurnal. You know, we have to. You know, even people that work nights have trouble sleeping in the day because we're diurnal. Yeah. You know,
that's me. I generally work late, and I usually get. I sleep my bed. I usually work about 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and I usually sleep. I can't sleep past 10 in the morning. I just can't sleep during the day, man. Right. And I got dark shades. I just can't do it. Yeah.
Right. And that's normal. And that's normal. That's why, they roam the woods at night because the apex predator, us, are not out there.
They roam the woods. It's like there's herds of them. You're making it all dramatic, Steve. I'm having a good time. This is fun. I like it because we can speak our minds, right? We can agree to disagree and have a good time, and somebody's not shutting down, right?
And I'd say they roam the woods.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Hey, I roam the woods at night too. That doesn't mean I'm a lot of them.
Well, see, I think that if it's daylight, and you hear a twig snap to your left, you can look over to your left.
Good night, Jay.
If there's anything over there, you'll see it.
And you can see for 150, 200 yards. Yeah, yes, exactly.
And if it's nighttime and a twig snaps over to your left, well, what is it? I don't know unless I've got a $10,000 thermal rig. I'm not.
Even then, have you seen over there. Can you give me any conclusive Bigfoot thermal that has not been, let's say, falsified? Can you give me anything that's conclusive that you look at and go, yes, that's a Bigfoot? And I guarantee you, I know that's a Bigfoot.
Well, there was that thermal that the fellas from West Virginia had gotten. We had them on the show a while back. And that video was pretty impressive because you see something step off. You actually see legs moving.
Yeah, I like
it. And it was down a ravine, and they went down into the ravine, and it was a drop.
Did you see the daylight? Did you see footage the next day and see scale of what it was? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you did see. Okay. So that footage does exist. All right. Because that's the question I have is I've never seen anything that goes that, wow, that's a Bigfoot. That must be Bigfoot. It's like,
it doesn't prove it.
Then there was the squeaky footage you might want to take a look at. I don't know if it's a Bigfoot, but it sure does look very interesting. But no thermal will ever prove a Bigfoot exists.
Thank you. That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Right. A thermal is a great tool to say, hey, is this a Bigfoot or not? Yeah. Right. And if something's got legs, it's either going to be one of two things, a human or a Bigfoot. I have gotten a series of thermal pictures because it was a very old thermal. This was back in 2013 when thermals were quite rare still.
And they were very expensive back then.
They were very expensive. Yeah. One of my guys actually had one of the handheld FLIRs, and we were able to take several snapshots of something upright walking along the water bank. And at that particular place or time, with the naked eye, you couldn't see anything. They were not using lights, which was crazy because it was about 9:00 at night in October or September, or I believe it was October actually, and it was completely pitch black.
Oh, so it was dark.
Yeah,
that time of year, yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. What I would like to use a drone for, if I'm going to, and again, we have a gentleman that we go with that has a drone. He doesn't have a thermal, but he has a drone, and he comes with this. He's a friend of mine. I think the best use of it, and again, this is just.
Oh yeah, let me not to interrupt, but then there was the remember hang on a second. Go ahead. I'll get my thought.
That's right. But what I would like to use it for, and Chris, you can while he's collecting his thoughts, is if you had, let's say you had 3 teams, right? You had a property, right? You had a tract of land, and you had a team here, and a team here. You can put the drone up in the air and see if something's moving with the thermal, right? At least you can get an idea of where something might be. And then you can kind of, as a hunter would be, you can kind of do a drive and push whatever that is the opposite way towards the people that aren't making noise. And that's I think the best use of a thermal would be something like that. I don't see them being of much use, being conclusive evidence, unless you have. Yeah. I just don't see the technology that we can afford. Right?
It's a tool. All it is a tool.
And
then you put a drone up there with a thermal up there. Same thing. It's a tool. It's never
exactly. But it's going to point you in the right direction. It's going to give you an idea. There's activity over there. There's something over there.
You want to see another good thermal video? We did a show months back with Tim Stover. And remember Tim's thermal video he had. And Tim's got some big bucks invested in thermal, and he got one across. Wasn't in Salt Fork, but it's in Ohio, and it was very impressive.
Yeah. Hey, B Lynn, I'll go on record saying I don't buy that footage is real at all. So,
which one?
Stacy Brown Jr. It just doesn't sing to me. It's too frame 362 to me, right? With that one that Stacy Brown has when he's crossing, he's got the old black hot. I don't know, I'm going to make enemies left and right here. I might as well finish my stories. So you have seen footage that with the story has been conclusive with the backed up investigation. That's all I'm saying is I haven't yet to be impressed with anything.
Well,
but you've had access. You've had hundreds and hundreds of hours of more stuff than
I think you're going to have to swing by the hacienda before the trip up to the mountain.
Of course. What are we going to meet at your house, right?
Exactly. Anytime you want.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I actually have to go up to Warren County in the next couple of weeks to finish a couple of interviews for the film that we're doing. I will when we're done, we'll have to exchange. I'll have to get your number off we'll do the Facebook thing and get your number. And then we should at least hook up. I swing by and say hello, man. I'm gonna be up
absolutely.
That way.
Yeah. Well,
I stay at the Panther Mountain up there right by Lake Brant Lake.
Okay. Yep.
Which isn't
that far and you know what? We'll throw a little dinner on and we'll have a night of talking Bigfoot and
we'll just get up to speed. We'll know each other this way when we come and hang out. We're not we're not driving each other crazy.
So
well, a lot of different people do different things when they research different methods. And, everybody did the same thing.
I'm a big fan of I want to be impressed. I love going out. I love being outside at night. I think it's fascinating. I don't think you have to be out at night, but again, I'm looking forward to going with somebody that knows the area that's had activity, right? So you are a person I trust your opinion and I trust your take. I don't think you're lying to me. Why would you? And I think you're an honest guy. And getting pointed in the right direction is 99.9% of the bright battle, right?
I was
being
blessed
set up to succeed.
I was blessed to meet some people that would point me in the right direction. I mean, Bill Brand, Paul Bartholomew, Eric Altman, got me in the right direction. Those are
great guys. And I met Paul real quick. I think I met him at Whitehall. And I talked to him on the phone. I talked to him via email about his book, one of his books. This was right back when I was getting started. And it's just... it's the thing. I've been lucky. I've been blessed to meet really good people. And there are gatekeepers, I believe, in this community. You have to meet the right person to get to meet the other right people. Because, and not like when I met Julie Wrench, right? When I was first introduced to Julie Wrench, I met her through Adam Davies, or I met Adam Davies through Julie Wrench, one of the two. And she opened me up to a whole world of other people that are very intelligent, thoughtful, smart individuals in the community. And every time right back then when I was getting frustrated, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to touch this anymore. I'm done. Then you meet people like you and Chris, and you reestablish your love for the community and the you pick up the hunt right back where you left off.
Well, like I say, if you see my new presentation, you will see my care for the history and the mystery behind this Bigfoot.
Are you doing any? You did a couple conferences, right? You were down in Virginia, West Virginia, or
let's see. So far, I have done. Oh God,
where were you? Because I know we
recently
talked about
Alabama.
Alabama was yes. I think because we do a conference spotlight on the show, and I think we remember pulling up.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. Stuff. I did. I did another one. Wow. They just go by so fast. I'm actually doing one Like I said, this Saturday I'm going to be in Gloversville, New York, doing a presentation and be out there. It's kind of a mix of a paranormal crypto type of event. The following Tuesday after that, the 18th, I will be in Southwick, Mass, at the public library doing a presentation.
How long is your presentation?
Well, it depends on how much floor time I get.
Right.
My presentation at Southwick will be about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Well, I'll be on for an hour and a half.
I would like to see it sometime. I'm not going to come to Southwick and see it, but I'd like to see it sometime because I was asked to do one a couple of years ago, and I actually ended up not doing the presentation. I actually I kind of gave more of a motivational speech, right? I kind of did like my Joe Rogan motivational about making Bigfoot, make it your passion project, right? Find something you believe in and go 110% at it. And unfortunately, the guys that were on before me went way too long, man. I mean, everybody went over like by an hour, so I went on way late, dude. And I was like, you know what? I'm never doing this again, dude. It's like they had no consideration for anybody that was coming on after him, dude. It was like, really? All right, that's how we're gonna play this game.
Daniel brings up a question that leads to a different subject. Has anyone seen prints in the ash of a previous year's forest fire? Well, I haven't.
There's very few areas where I am at that's had a forest fire, luckily.
But that goes to, it gets me to thinking, well, with all those wildfires in Canada now, shouldn't we be seeing some scorched footies somewhere?
I would like to do a study on see if the sightings in Maine increased this year with all the fires that are going on up in Western Canada or Eastern Canada, right? It'd be interesting to see if Maine and that part of the United States over there, that part, if the sightings increased by the traffic.
I'm thinking more or less in northern New York.
You hope so, right?
Because the fires are actually in Ontario. If you go,
I thought they were over in West. I thought they were farther east. I thought they were over by Quebec. There was some over in Quebec earlier.
Yeah, well, guess what's above New York? Quebec.
Yeah, but Ontario is Niagara Falls, right?
That's to the west.
Yeah.
But like you go into Plattsburgh, Ticonderoga,
yeah.
Whitehall, that's all just south of the Canadian border.
Yeah.
So, and actually, I am probably an hour and 40 minutes to the Canadian border from here.
So you're hoping that the Canadian Bigfoot got pissed off and crossed the border and
I was kind of hoping for a barbecued one up there.
Oh boy, here we go. Everybody's gonna hate you. They're taking all their donation money back, Chris.
Well, no, I'm not pro kill per se.
Pro barbecue.
If there's one been barbecued by nature,
But hey, you know what? They're not stupid. Something that smoke and stuff like that starts to happen, they get motivated out of there.
We did a big story. I did a story on that, on how bears, if you look how bears survive forest fires, right? The bears are very adept at surviving forest fires.
Yep.
Right. They manage to evade the forest fire. They manage to find a place to live. And then they circle back around to where it was burnt, right? Because the fires generally burn fairly fast. And then they make a living off of the stuff that is there to eat after the forest fire. And they're very adept. So, and I have no problem believing that Sasquatch has no problem getting around that stuff and surviving it. Because if they've been around for as long as they should be, they live in the forest, they are pretty accustomed to lightning strikes and fire. So
it's not their first
and
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris, we have to start wrapping up. We
go. I hope I was okay. It was my first show in a long time besides Nikki's, and I was just part of a panel. So
everybody in here is saying this was a great conversation tonight. And
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's like you get one of these really good Bigfoot conversations going on with certain people that have opinions. And I like the fact that, hey, we don't always have to agree on everything. But
this will be on This Week in Bigfoot. I'm going to put this on This Week in Bigfoot. I'm going to put it on the end there. I'm just going to give away one of the podcasts and live streams right now to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you, Dismabo. DMZabo.
So anyway, Chris, do your thing.
Take us out, Chris.
I want to thank Brandon again for being on tonight. I enjoyed your company, bud. Excellent guest. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All our listeners in chat, we appreciate you guys. The lurkers in chat, we appreciate you too. You know, you don't have to type if you don't want
to watch.
But we appreciate you being there. If you're here, if you've already subscribed, then thank you. If you haven't, you know, consider giving us a subscribe and hit that thumbs up button if you like the show. You know, it helps out the algorithm. But we appreciate you.
And folks, I want to thank everybody for coming on. I want to thank first and foremost Brendon for coming on tonight. What a great discussion!
Great,
thank you, Brendon. Even though I know you're backstage, yep. Oh, and thank you. Yes, we have 2 gifted memberships that aren't taken. So if you're interested in becoming a permanent member of the channel, there's a couple of gift memberships up, courtesy of Don Fuller. Thank you so much, sir.
Donald, thank you so much.
And you know, and that's the thing. People are really digging this channel because we talk reality and not fantasy, and we're not afraid to cover those controversial topics. So there is no elephant in the room. Well, even if there is, we'll get out.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. That's right.
We'll talk about it.
And for some reason, I'm getting talked about burritos. Burritos are the worst thing for me when I'm on the road. Worst thing. But anyway, I want to thank everybody. And if you haven't joined the membership, please do. It's a lot of fun. We're going to be doing even more stuff. Like I said, come time we get in the woods, we're going to get out there and start putting some video up. I have some video in the queue that I'm working on as well for the membership channel. So I'm taping a lot of stuff. So we'll do that. We're going to probably do another driver side chat this week, and even a Squatch-D blog. I think it'll be coming up week after. So we're going to the video blog where I am uncensored and untamed. So it's going to be worth the price of admission. I guarantee it. So anyway, for those again, you know, make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Last person out, please turn out the lights. And as always, we want to you know, Brendon, if you want to stick around for the after chat, that would be wonderful.
I will for a little bit. I've been sitting on my ass for 4 hours, dude. So
oh yeah, you know what? Why don't you go out and grab a smoke?
Stretch.
Okay, I'll be back. I'll be back. Hey, everybody that's in the chat, they should be at CARC Universal this Friday night at 8 to watch This Week in Bigfoot. It's going to be a great show. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, make sure you catch their channel. It's really a good one. And folks, on behalf of me, again, I want to thank everybody for coming by, and everybody have a great week. Stay healthy, keep safe. God bless. And of course, keep on squatching. We'll catch you here next Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern here on Squatch-D TV. Good night and keep on squatching.
Hey folks, you've been watching Squatch-D TV. Join us each week, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for the latest on the Bigfoot mystery. As always, we thank you for being our loyal viewers and encourage all to subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Steve Kulls. As always, have a great week. Stay safe. God bless and keep on squatching.